who does not agree with them.
It's really getting college started on the wrong foot if they can't even have a discussion with someone who recognizes biological reality or would stand up and say, no, I don't think your pronouns are real.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
More news available online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source.
The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to thegodwhospeaks.org to get your copy today. thegodwhospeaks.org. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim Wildman here, and it's Tuesday, September the 10th, 2024. Yes, today is Presidential Debate Day. It's not on the official calendar, but it's here. And joining me in studio is Ed Vitagliano. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
Chris Woodward.
Hello. Good morning.
And Wesley Wildman will be joining us momentarily. A lot to talk about. We've got a couple of guests coming up later in the hour, so we look forward to talking to Philip Juregi and Debbie Wuthnow. We're going to be talking about, in particular, about the importance of a presidential election on the federal court system. So we look forward to talking, because presidents come and go, but the judges they appoint sit on the bench for hours, for years and years and years, long past the president who appointed them.
It's kind of like the pizza I had last year. Salads come and go, but the result of that pizza? I
can see the analogy.
That just stays. It just stays with you.
Yeah. Ed, that's why you're here. you know, to put things in perspective.
That's right.
Huh? So, with pizza and salad. All right, so good morning, Weston.
Good morning. When you said salad, I immediately was shaking my head like, where are we going? But just because you used pizza in an analogy, it automatically, the analogy works.
Yes, exactly.
Pizza works.
Just a minute, just depends on how many ingredients you got on top of it.
You put on 2 pounds because you ate pizza, that's staying with you.
I have a pizza story to share, if you bear with me for a moment. My oldest
we'll bear
daughter,
with you.
when she was turning 1, we were going to have everybody come to the park for my daughter's birthday. And we thought, well, we need to feed people. But we failed to mention to the party goers that we were going to be providing food. And we bought 20 pizzas, large families, right? We bought 20 pizzas, and they actually gave us a couple of extra because we had such a large order. And then people showed up already having had lunch, and we had tons of leftover pizza. We were giving people boxes of pizza. We were stuck with a lot of pizza that we put in Ziploc bags and froze. And I ate a certain brand of pizza every day for about a month. And after 6 weeks later, I was like, something does not feel right.
Yeah.
I was like the Super Size Me guy, but with pizza.
Well,
it was good.
Yeah. All right, so what's going on, Chris?
Well, we do need to be advised, again, of the tropical storm Francine. We started this off yesterday. This is not a repeat of Monday's program. On Tuesday, September 10th, Francine is likely to become a hurricane as people in Texas and Louisiana rush to finish preparations. Fox Weather is all over this, as well as Weather Nation. You name it, if it's a news outlet that covers weather, they are doing wall-to-wall coverage of this. And we have a lot of listeners and supporters, praise God, in the great states of Texas and Louisiana, even Mississippi, where we are here in the northeastern part of the state. We're going to get a lot of rain, probably a lot of wind. So do be advised of what's going on there. And if you have family or friends in that area, tell them to keep a check on their local broadcasters. We'll be here with updates as they develop.
Well, so the tropical storm, what's the name of it?
Francine.
Who decides the names of these things, by the way?
That's
Is there a committee?
Association of.
It's NOAA, I think.
Yeah, NOAA.
Not the person from the Bible, but the
Okay,
organization.
I looked
And-
up. Like,
and-
wait,
Say I
what?
don't remember
Oh,
reading
right.
that in the scripture.
Yeah.
No, I did. Yeah.
It's in the
I know,
message.
I know it did storm and rain a lot
Yeah,
during,
sure.
during Noah's time.
I thought it was some form of a weather joke that I just didn't know. Are you? So hold on. Let's see, how serious are we
NOAA,
about
it's
this?
the national-
NOAA.
It's yes.
Yeah.
I got it backwards. It's National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
So they named the tropical storm
I
Francine.
believe so,
Oh, boy.
as well as maybe National Hurricane Center and some other entities.
Okay.
And you remember they used to always be named after women's names. That was back into I forget when they changed that, but
Wait, hold on. Are you
no,
serious,
I'm
dude?
serious. No, I'm
No,
serious.
he's
You're
serious.
serious.
I'm
You're
serious.
serious.
It used to always be named after women, and I think the reason for that was because women sometimes just can't calm down. No, I'm not. No. I'm
Now
sorry,
you
ladies.
can,
I'm
yeah.
sorry,
On
but
your
I think
own, brother.
I think it was because they used to always name ships after women,
Yeah.
and anything associated with the sea,
So
like
then
a
we moved
hurricane.
into stereotyping. So then
I got
Yeah,
you.
I got myself in trouble.
I got you an update. As of 1979, they started getting male names. So
Okay.
Hurricane Camille, which you experienced as a
69.
youth,
I remember.
that was back
yeah,
in the days
Camille,
when they just had lady
69,
names.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
but
6
I've
years
been
old.
brainwashed by the 2024 millennial that there is no such thing as a male name and a female name. So I don't, when I'm, I
Good
can't
point.
tell
Yeah, good
if we're
point.
serious. Or,
They now alternate. So this is no, I'm
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
I know.
Just to be fair,
to be fair.
about storms of destruction and
So
mayhem.
it's Francine. This is the very next storm
Mhm.
will be named after with an obviously male name.
a G,
Yeah.
EFG, Francine.
The funny thing was, a few years ago, we had Hurricane Elsa, and that was after Frozen came out and was a smash hit. And it was like, that's a different Elsa, girls.
Well, anyway, that storm is supposed to hit
Today or tomorrow.
along the Texas-Louisiana border. Is
Mhm.
that okay?
Yeah, and on a serious note, let's remember those that are down there because it's like many things in life, out of sight, out of mind, and so it's easy to forget, but at least say a prayer or be considerate of what's taking place down there. And before we move on, in the event you want to support a good ministry that often helps those in need from a natural disaster, 8 Days of Hope, they do good work, and so they may end up being down there at some point. But 8 Days of Hope, it's a partnership of ours, and so I follow them just to see if they end up going down there or not.
Yeah. Next story.
Well, tonight is debate night between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. It's going to be on ABC. It's going to be about 90 minutes long. David Muir is one of the moderators. Lindsay Davis is the other moderator. Just like last time, even though this is being hosted by a network, a whole bunch of other television networks are going to what they call simulcast the debate. So you don't have to watch ABC to watch the ABC debate. You can watch it on Fox News Channel. C-SPAN's probably going to have it.
That's odd. How does that work exactly?
Well, they did that for the Biden. Didn't
they
they do
did.
that for the Biden debate when Biden was in it
Mhm.
against Donald Trump?
Because ABC, owned by Disney,
Right.
they're altogether a separate company than
Fox.
Fox,
Mhm.
for example. And are other the news networks CNN?
I believe so. Yeah, it's going
So
to
it's
be
gonna be a simulcast.
Yeah, there was a delay last time. Like CNN had it, and then a few seconds later, people watching the other channels got the same information. So, like, I was live tweeting or posting things that some people didn't even see or hear for like a couple of seconds or a minute or something
And
like
people
that.
thought you were some kind of genius.
Yes.
You
I
just-
wonder if if Fox, for example, Fox News pays ABC to be able to air. I mean,
I would
don't know
imagine.
That'd be fair.
how that works exactly.
Didn't
And
it used to be when there's just three networks? I think they used to like a debate. I think didn't they all three carry it?
yeah, I think so.
I think it was just
Yeah.
all the
92
networks.
was the first one I really
But with
remember.
simulcast, would that not be different than? Ooh, when I hear simulcast, I envision that they're just taking the actual feed from CNN with the CNN logo and the banner. Like basically, they're just restreaming, or are they doing their own? They could be doing their own version of it.
I think your first thought, I think maybe
yeah.
right.
Okay.
Now,
Well, we'll find out.
yeah,
Well,
tonight,
if
yeah.
I'm a news outlet, that would be sufficient. If you're using my entire feed with my logo and my moderators and
Yeah.
my news anchors.
Yeah, and it's 8 o'clock Central Time, right? 9
It
o'clock
is, yeah.
Eastern?
8 o'clock Central Time. It's going to be about 90 minutes, and then, of course, we'll have reaction.
It's 90 minutes. Kamala, this what?
They do have
Yeah.
two breaks, so 2 bathroom breaks.
Right.
18 minutes the other day ain't gonna work. Then.
But I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, I don't think you can meet with staff during those breaks.
That is correct. Yeah, it's similar rules to the Biden-Trump debate from late spring, early summer.
June.
No hot mics, no live mics. Hot mics is something we use in the broadcast world. In other words, they can't talk over one another and you hear it.
Right.
You can't have notes on the podium with you. So this will be a chance for Vice President Harris to show people that she is, in her words, capable of the job. But Donald Trump, of course, is looking to build off the support that he has, national attention, that kind of thing. It's a very close race right now with 50-some-odd days to go. And so
Right.
this could be the difference that we talk about 5, 10, 20 years from now.
This is Kamala Harris's opportunity to shine.
Has
Now, let me tell you, if she does well tonight, I mean, I'm setting the bar really low for her. If she, really, I think
Lower than your bar for Biden last time?
yes.
Mm.
Well,
Really?
I'll say that probably about equal, comparable,
Yeah.
because President Joe Biden, obviously, he was having kind of
the cognitive
the
side
cognitive
of it.
decline. I'm not sure this is gonna. Oh man, I'm not sure.
I'll help you. Go ahead.
I'm not sure Kamala Harris really has a place to decline from. Okay, so I think she's just going to be comparable to Joe Biden's performance. But having said that, I think most people are not expecting much. And if she does well, that's going to be a boost for her, even if it's not comparable to what John Kerry did or, someone, or what Hillary Clinton did. It won't matter. People are expecting her to be way down here. And if she is up a few clicks, that'll probably help her.
And that's tonight, right?
It
At what
is.
time?
It's at 8 o'clock Central. Now, the moderators.
We want all the
I'm
time
sorry.
zones.
This is.
I'm
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me just say, I'm looking at Fox. It says, oh no, I apologize. Fox News live coverage begins at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern
They're
time.
doing the pregame.
So
you will.
so an hour later than the actual debate.
Now, it is possible that the network, ABC, and the moderators will do their best to try to help Vice President Harris along. And I say that because of some research that Media Research Center / Newsbusters put out yesterday, which found ABC to be the most pro-Harris of all the broadcast networks. Like, in terms of all the coverage they give towards her versus Donald Trump, it's far more in favor of Harris than it is of Donald Trump. I'll share that link on our Today's Issues Facebook page here. So, bottom line, Newsbuster says ABC is in the tank for Harris, leading some people to believe that ABC will do their best to try to help her in this debate with former President Trump.
I don't think Trump's going to let her get away. Let ABC get away with that.
It's true. He
I
probably will.
think if they ask real hard questions, if they come out of the chute and say, President Trump, what does it feel like to be a convicted felon?
Mhm.
Okay, and then say a softball to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
I think he's going to say, hey, listen, you're bad people. You're nasty. It's clear that you're in the tank.
He
He'll
does not
put
seem like
pressure
he's
on him.
scared of doing that.
No.
He's done it before. Now, in addition to Newsbusters saying ABC is in the tank for Vice President Harris and really any Democrat running for public office, Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, pretty much made similar comments this morning on Fox News Channel. Clip 1.
I mean, this is the network that places The View under its news division, after all, so maybe we shouldn't be surprised. We're certainly a long way from David Brinkley and Barbara Walters, Ted Koppel, Peter Jennings, that's for certain. Now, the question is, will ABC continue to serve as a super PAC for the Harris campaign tonight, or will they do what CNN did when they had all eyes on them in Atlanta in June for Trump and Biden, and actually, to their credit, asked relevant and fair questions that the American people cared about most on policy?
I personally expect that's what ABC is going to do. And here's why. When they're just doing their regular coverage, they don't have a huge audience. They're not really under the gun except when conservatives are keeping track. But there'll be people from other countries watching this.
Yeah.
They can't afford to make it look like they're, in his words, a super PAC for Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I do think that David Muir, is that his name?
Yeah.
And what's the other?
Lindsay Davis.
Okay.
She does the ABC News Weekend.
Okay. Well, I agree with you. I think the scrutiny that they know, those two reporters know, they'll be the moderators. They know that everybody's watching, and if they come across blatantly biased towards Kamala Harris, it's going to show.
Right.
And they will to some degree be discredited.
Right.
If they do that. So I think they'll try to be, that's what happened last time. Was it CNN?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember CNN?
I thought it was handled well.
Right. And I thought, whichever debate that was, maybe it was a Republican debate, but Lester Holt, was it Lester Holt?
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job.
Yeah.
So, they can surprise. Yes, are the national news media, most of them liberal and Democrat? Yes, absolutely. You can you can look at survey after survey. They admit that.
Yeah.
But can they still be, quote, fair and balanced, to borrow from Fox? Yes, they can do that from time to time, and I think hopefully that'll be on display tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're listening to today's issues. Again, the debate tonight, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC, but splashed over other networks as well. Did you guys see that James Earl Jones passed away?
My wife told me that this morning.
Speaking of CNN,
Mississippi native, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's from Mississippi.
Orca Butler.
Is that right?
Don't ask me how to spell that, but it's Orca Butler.
So James Earl Jones was from Mississippi, and the same, not too far from where Morgan Freeman is from.
Okay.
So
I really liked him as an actor, and he was, to your point. I forgot about that. This is CNN.
Oh yeah,
he was the voice.
But he was the voice of Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
He appeared in a couple of Tom Clancy movies with Harrison Ford. I mean, he was. I always enjoyed him as an actor.
93 years old.
Yeah.
But
I'm looking it up here. Babylon Bee put out something about him yesterday that was positive. They weren't making fun of him.
Did he just die of natural causes?
I believe so. He's 90-something.
93.
93 years old. He passed away, but the funny, I wonder if he got paid per use of his CNN. This is CNN, or if he got you know what I'm saying?
Got a lump sum, and they said we'll just use it.
Yeah,
because that was for years.
Mm-hmm.
This is CNN.
Babylon Bee put out a thing yesterday. The headline was, God announces he will now be voiced by James Earl Jones. And it says here, it's a natural fit, said a spokes angel shortly after news of Jones' passing made the rounds. The Lord bless James Earl Jones with his awesome booming voice with an eye toward using it for his glory well into eternity. Though Mr. Jones used his voice talent to garner fame and fortune during his time spent on earth, he will now use it in service to God Almighty. Yeah. And there's a picture of him on the
Well, I'm glad I'm not the one who said that.
Yeah. James Earl Jones, by the way, he was in Field of Dreams also with Kevin Costner.
Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of GIFs yesterday showing him at that scene where he goes into the corn and he disappears.
Yeah, I did that once.
I watched the end of that movie here recently. It was
you disappeared into a field of corn.
Yeah,
just like the movie.
Yeah. I was just walking and took a wrong turn.
He was also in The Sandlot. You remember he was the guy who owned the big dog.
The next door neighbor.
The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
He was the voice.
Voice.
Mufasa.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
In the Lion King movie.
Yeah.
He was the voice.
This is not Kamala. This is Mufasa, guys.
Yeah.
Mufasa.
That's Mufasa.
Not Kamala.
I already saw it once, so. Okay.
But anyway, James Earl Jones, 93 years old. You're asking, I don't know why he passed, but I mean, 93, that's a long life in anybody's book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except maybe compared to some biblical characters.
He does have you can get an app that you can actually hear the Bible read by James Earl Jones. Like James Earl Jones reads the Bible.
He's got a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
Next story. Next story.
Let's mention this real quick. Tomorrow, obviously, is the anniversary of 9/11. And we had a story in the last few days here. We're going to be following it up with some special pieces. But here now is Nick Baker of Young America's Foundation. They're an organization of, obviously, young people out there that do a 9/11 Day of Remembrance on college and university campuses. And here is Nick Baker of Young America's Foundation, or YAF, talking to us about why his organization does this on campuses. Clip 10.
Nowadays, so many students just weren't old enough And there's probably like a small number of students who are even alive at the time. And so we just need to make sure that students are aware of what happened and the radical Islamic ideology behind what happened, and ensuring that those lives are remembered.
Well, listen, it's I still most of us who were alive then and adults.
If you weren't alive then,
Huh?
If you weren't alive then, you don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Very true.
Yes, that's true. I was going to make a point, but now it makes it sound like my point is silly.
Well, I'm taking notes here because that's one for Dad, and we'll get it. We're going to get them back. It seems to be, we're going to get them back.
What I was trying to say is that for young people who might have been alive but were too young to remember the event, okay, it is still emotional for me. Okay, I guess the same thing would be true if you were alive and could remember Pearl Harbor, where you were, or when John F. Kennedy was shot. I can still vaguely remember my mom breaking down and crying when JFK was shot. So what I'm going to say, like, there's a movie about Flight 93, I think. It's the one that Hey, Let's Roll. Remember that one?
Crash in the Field.
Yeah, Crash in the Field.
What was Todd?
Beeman?
I forget
Beamer.
Beamer. Yeah.
Yeah, Todd Beamer. There's a movie. I still can't watch that movie. It's just emotional. So and so that's what the commentary was trying to say is young people need to be taught it, but it's very emotional for people who were alive and could remember, to your point.
Yeah. I was 19 years old. I was in my dorm room that morning. I actually, classes were canceled later that day. And talking about Pearl Harbor, remember how for a few days it was referred to on like Fox News Channel and some other networks as Pearl Harbor 2 because 9/11 had not yet been coined as a phrase or whatnot. So yeah, it's I tell my daughters about it. We usually talk about it every 9/11, and I kind of, it's my, I guess, tradition. I don't know if that's the best word to use here, but I listen to the Alan Jackson song that he recorded, Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning? I usually listen to that every year on 9/11. But do check us out for AFN.net for radio and print coverages. We are trying to do some follow-ups on the story I just played a clip from. So we're talking about kind of the spiritual impact that something like this had on America, and we're doing more stories about schools that are doing observances or not doing observances because of walking on eggshell feelings that some schools have.
Yeah.
All right, you're listening to today's issues. Next story, Chris.
Well, let's. I do want to mention this real quick. In terms of the debate tonight, Vice President Harris and her campaign have tried to say that they are paving a new way forward. That was the word they used on their website yesterday when they finally put policies and agendas out there for Vice President Harris, as if she's not already been in office somehow, some way, and had an impact on policy. A lot of people are trying to say that she shouldn't be held accountable for what Joe Biden has done in office in terms of what he has done maybe wrongly with the economy and policies or whatnot. Yesterday, during the White House press briefing, Karine Jean-Pierre said that Biden and Harris are still a partnership here. I can play a clip. It's about 30 seconds. Clip 4.
But we want to make sure that people understand, the American people understand, that this continues to be a partnership. This is a partnership. And we've said that before. We've said that throughout the last 3.5 years. And you know, the president respects her leadership. He respects her bold policy ideas, as I was speaking to Jackie about back and forth moments ago, and he supports that. And I think it's important for the American people to understand that, to be very clear. And that's one thing that we want to be very clear about from here.
I will say this.
Go
me.
ahead.
For
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Karine Jean-Pierre. There has been nobody in the history of the world that wants to be clearer.
Yes. And who has been less clear.
Yeah. She could do the Clear-Eyed commercial.
She could.
Right?
Yeah.
She needs to be a spokesperson for Visine.
That's it. Yeah.
Let me be clear.
Do you hear her? She's clear. She was clear. She wants to be clear.
Wants to be clear. Let me be clear.
She's got enough
about
confidence,
being clear.
so she doesn't feel the need to say, I'm going to be crystal clear. She just, let your yes be yes and your no's be no's.
Are you making fun of my nose?
No.
What is this?
No, let your yes be yes.
I'm
or
getting
no
it from
be no.
Wildman's on both sides.
I've been on your team this whole
No,
segment.
I know. You have.
Not till next one, though.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a short time out right here. We'll be back with more of today's issues after this break.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
Let me tell you the story of two men by the name of John Anybody and Jim Somebody. Now, John Anybody lived to a ripe old age and died. He went to heaven and applied as a candidate for residency in that place. St. Peter was questioning John Anybody about himself. In the course of the conversation, Mr. Anybody asked St. Peter what kind of people lived in heaven. Well, what kind of people lived in the town where you lived on earth? St. Peter asked Mr. Anybody, turning the question back to him. Oh, the town I lived in wasn't a good town to live in at all. The people weren't friendly. They were stingy. They weren't good neighbors. I just didn't like living in that town at all. That's the reason I ask you what kind of people live up here. If it is the same kind of people, I would just as soon go to the other place, Mr. Anybody replied. Well, I hate to tell you this, said St. Peter, but the same kind of people live up here as lived in your town on earth. If that's the case, replied Mr. Anybody, you can count me out. I want no part of a place like the place I lived in on earth. And with that, Mr. Anybody turned and walked away. As he was leaving, he happened to meet Mr. Jim Somebody, who was on his way to talk to St. Peter about living in heaven. Not any need of going in there, Mr. Anybody told Mr. Somebody. People in there are just like they were on earth. They aren't worth living with. Mr. Somebody thanked him for the advice, but stated that he wanted to check it out for himself. When Mr. Somebody got to the gate, he began talking with St. Peter. What kind of people live up here? Mr. Somebody asked St. Peter. The fellow I passed on the road said they weren't fit to live with. Again, St. Peter did not answer his question directly, but with another question. What kind of people lived in the town where you lived on earth? St. Peter asked Mr. Somebody. Oh, they were fine people. They were friendly. They were generous and helpful, real good neighbors. I really enjoyed living in the town where I lived on earth, Mr. Somebody said in reply to St. Peter's question. Well, said St. Peter, the same kind of people live up here. Excellent, claimed Mr. Somebody. How about opening the gates and letting me in? And St. Peter did open the gates, and Mr. Somebody promptly entered heaven. Well, that's the story of Mr. John Anybody and Mr. Jim Somebody. Both of them asked St. Peter the same question, and St. Peter asked both of them the same question. But St. Peter received two completely different answers from the two men. Mr. Somebody went to heaven, and Mr. Anybody went to, well, Mr. Anybody just didn't go to heaven, but it was of his own free choice that he did not go to heaven. I nearly forgot to tell you, Mr. Anybody and Mr. Somebody lived in the same town. Anywhere, earth.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Streaming.afa.net has now become AFA Stream, and you can find it at stream.afa.net. You see, we removed the letters ing. Our experts have determined that eliminating those three keystrokes, multiplied over hundreds of thousands of AFA Stream visits, could reduce the national debt and maybe increase the gross domestic product. AFA Stream, formerly streaming.afa.net. Improvements to the economy are purely theoretical.
Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. 1 Peter 1:3.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Welcome back to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Tim with Ed and Wesley, and in studio with us for the next segment, two guests we have. First of all, Debbie Withnow. Debbie is president of iVoterGuide, and good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Tim.
You are from the San Antonio area, right?
Austin, Texas.
The Austin area.
Well, I'm not from there, but I live there.
Okay. Is Austin really weird?
Uh-huh. And proud of it.
And they're proud of it too, aren't
proud
they?
of it.
But they do have a lot of great restaurants and places
Live
to visit.
music is what it's known for, and music festivals, film festivals. F1, we got an F1 track.
Yeah. That's the
European racetrack.
Yeah, European race. That's weird, and that
Yes,
is
that's
weird.
The American racing
in the middle of Texas.
NASCAR.
NASCAR. They kind of think of themselves as the San Francisco of Texas, kind of.
A bit. It's pretty blue.
Yeah. But you get out of town. That's where normal people live, right?
Well, and I try to stay at home.
Right.
So
There you go.
Right,
You have your own enclave of normal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, also in studio with us is Philip Juregi. Ed, can you spell Philip's name
I can.
without looking?
Phillip.
Perfect. Nicely done.
Jauregi.
UI.
Did I get that right?
Philip,
Better. Close enough.
I was just asking for Philip.
Okay. Well, I got
you
that
got
part.
that.
I got that right.
Passed that.
Anyway, Philip is Philip Juregi. He's senior counsel and director of the Center for Judicial Review. He hails from Birmingham, AL, and drove over. Good to see you, Philip.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
So Ed, no doubt, has gone his whole life having to spell his name out twice for people in important situations. You, Philip Juregi, you've done the same, no doubt.
I've done it. Yes, and typically if somebody misses it, nobody knows.
That's right.
So it wouldn't matter.
I learned when I came to the South. Now, my wife is from Mississippi. We were married in '81, and I've lived in the South since '85. All of it except for 1 year in Mississippi.
Right.
And I discovered very quickly that most people in Mississippi give up on a name if it's more than 2 syllables.
And ends in a vowel.
And it's like they get the first 2 syllables and then they just give up and they mumble the rest of it.
But then you know it's you because it happens all the time, right?
Listen, at the doc for a checkup or whatever, I'll hear Ed here. I just
right.
I don't torment people with my name.
Right.
Well, it's not every day we get to have guests in studio, and our guests today are on campus because we're producing another AFA at Home. Many of our listening audience are familiar with this. AFA at Home, episode 6, and the title of the episode is "What Direction Will America Take on Election Day 2024?" And they're going to be here recording to discuss that, and we will release that episode.
Is this a video?
It's a video.
It is.
And then we will release that video episode on October 17th at 6 p.m. Central Time, and it will be streaming on our platform for free for a couple of days, maybe a week or so before we move it behind our Great Commission partner paywall.
This is going to be a great video. These AFA at Home are kind of like a living room conversation. Also, guests for this discussing the 2024 election will be Sandy Rios, Dr. Jameson Taylor, Rick Green, also, as well as Debbie and Philip. And so this video will be available on our streaming platform for anyone who wants to. So if you want some insights into the upcoming election, that'll be the place to check it out starting October 17th.
Yep.
Hey, Debbie, tell us what iVoterGuide is and does.
iVoterGuide is a website that's a voter guide. So you go to iVoterGuide.com and enter your address, and you will get a personalized, detailed, but easy to use voter guide to give you information about the candidates and information that are on your ballot. So it covers federal candidates, it covers state legislative candidates, covers some school board candidates. We're going to cover ballot measures. We'll cover judges that are at the statewide level for Supreme Court. And it's really not like any other voter guide you've ever used. I encourage you to go to iVoterGuide.com and look at it, because it's not just, have they answered their positions on 5 different issues. It's who they given money to, how have they voted on legislation if they've been in office, who's endorsed them, as well as about 35 different questions on issues. So it's really broad spectrum. You can see the data for yourself, but we make it real easy to use, because not only do we research the candidates, but we evaluate them. We assign them a rating from verified conservative to verified
liberal. Christians
liberal.
weren't supposed to judge.
Well, these Christians do.
This is discernment, not judging.
Oh,
We're not
okay.
saying what's right and wrong, but we're just saying where they land on the scale, so that voters can have information to know where they stand and which candidates are more likely to share their biblical values before they go into the polling place.
It's very helpful. If you go to iVoterGuide.com, there's an interactive map. So all you do is you point to your state and you click, and it tells you upcoming elections, recent elections, resources like register to vote, find your polling station, get absentee ballots. One of the things I know, Debbie, is that sometimes Christians who suddenly realize that they should be involved in politics, the least of which is to vote, they're embarrassed to ask. I'm not even registered to vote. I'm embarrassed to ask anyone, because then they'll know I haven't been voting. But you can just go here and click on register to vote, and
is that simple?
Yeah,
that's simple. On the homepage, go to iVoterGuide.com, scroll down, you'll see a map of the United States. Find your state, click on your state, and you'll see a link there to see all of the candidates in your state, but also register to vote. Find your polling place. You can't go vote if you don't know where that is. And honestly, I would recommend that when it's time to vote and we've released the voter guides, to enter your address into the top box in that, because that way we'll give you a personalized ballot. You don't need to know I'm in Congressional District 3 and State Senate District 2. And that way it's personalized and you know really what's going to be on your ballot. But the resources are there on that map. We've also got educational articles on the Insights and articles. There's just a lot of resources.
Now, you're a humble lady, okay?
Of course.
So I'm going to say this. This is the best voter guide there is.
Well, I didn't create this, God did. So
it's okay.
Give him the glory.
Yep.
iVoterGuide.com, just the letter I?
The letter I, think internet voter guide.
Okay.
Or individualized voter guide.
iVoterGuide.com is the website. How many people have used it? Do we have any know?
Well, in 2022, we know that we had about 7 million voters who were educated by going to iVoterGuide.com. We're hoping to go beyond that this year. And those who are listening, if you find it helpful, tell your friends and your family.
Amen.
iVoterGuide.com, iVoterGuide.com. That's under the umbrella of AFA Action. So it's part of our organization here. Philip, tell us about the Center for Judicial Review.
Sure. Center for Judicial Renewal is AFA under AFA Action, and we're
it's not review.
It's not review.
Yeah,
that's all right. It's renewal.
I knew that, but our somebody who will go unnamed, who's sitting in the studio, typed it in wrong.
Right,
and thus I read it. I read it wrong. So
I'm going to say who it was. No, I'm not.
Ed.
So anyway, it really doesn't. Listen, it doesn't matter who's at fault here, even if they're in the room. What matters is that you're the president, you're director of the Center for Judicial Renewal.
Exactly, and I'm glad we missed that word because it actually helps us highlight what the center's about. You know, we thought about it. Center for what do you want to name it? Judicial Renewal. We're not trying to create a revolution here or create some new concept. We're renewing the original purpose of the judiciary, which is to decide cases, not to legislate from the bench.
Right.
And for several decades now, we've had courts that aren't just deciding cases; they're deciding the most important political issues in our nation, and we're turning away from that now. And I'm very excited. We see the court continue to have some bad decisions from time to time, but when you look at it, yes, Supreme Court, Supreme Court. Thank you. But when you look at it overall, I like to think of the Supreme Court somewhat like the prodigal son. They've been in a very far country doing some really bad things for a few years. They're on their way home, but it's not an instantaneous journey. They're in a far country. It's taken a while, and we see them take 2 steps forward, 1 back. But we're seeing renewal. We're seeing the court come back to its proper role of deciding cases, and so I'm excited about it. And we continue to research that, Tim, because we will have more vacancies on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before, and I'm fixing to go deep here, so get ready.
Go for it.
In the hierarchy.
Step out and get some coffee.
What now?
Step out and get some coffee.
You don't want to miss this.
Okay.
In the hierarchy of the universe, there is the Lord God Almighty. Okay.
Amen.
The Lord God Almighty, and I mean that seriously, is over the universe. After that, you come down to planet Earth. Probably the most powerful people on planet Earth are federal judges. Okay, after that. Now, I'm using a little bit of fun and exaggeration, but I'm making a point. The power of the Supreme Court and then the federal bench under the Supreme Court, that federal judiciary system, they have enormous impact on our country and our lives, don't they?
They do, and they have since the 1960s, deciding some of the most important cases.
For better or for worse, they have impact. Yeah,
exactly. And doing it, Tim, when they don't have authority to do it, they have authority to decide cases, but when it comes to deciding the most important issues like prayer in school, let's take the abortion case, 1973, 50 years ago. That case was based upon something that's not in the Constitution. The Supreme Court did not have the authority to rule that there was a right to abortion because there's not one in the Constitution. Yet for 50 years we lived under that. But you could pick area after area, pornography, religious freedom, where we were literally living 330 million Americans under a rule made by as few as 5 lawyers who didn't have the authority to make us live that way.
Sometimes by a 1-vote margin.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like the same-sex marriage case.
And that's why when Tim says they had the most authority, they did for 50 years. They have had that much authority. That's changing, thank God, and it's going to change more as the Supreme Court gets better, I believe.
Yeah, let me ask you this. I think most people know this, especially if they listen to AFR, our program. And I just can't stress this enough. Whoever the president is for the next 4 years, whether it be Harris or Trump, will appoint 100 or more, 100 or hundreds?
In the hundreds.
In the hundreds of federal judges over the next 4 years, and maybe a handful of them that may be stopped because they're so far radical. On the left, I'm talking about. On the right, which Trump draws his judges from, for the most part, are constitutional conservatives,
right?
Who don't want to make law from the bench. Okay, that's been the clash between conservatives and liberals for a long time.
That's right.
So I just want to stress, and they have lifetime appointments, right? Lifetime appointments.
They do.
So whoever the next president will be will have an impact on our country for the next 10 or 20, maybe even 30 years.
That's right.
Through their judicial appointments, right?
Exactly. And think about it. If you don't even have children yet, your grandchildren will be living under the rules made by the judges that are appointed over the next 4 years.
Right. And so whoever the president is, that's why it's so critical who it is, and they'll appoint the federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, for the next 4 years. Debbie, when you talk to folks who maybe engage with our voter guide, are there 1 or 2 or 3 issues that come up that people care the most about? Like this is mostly Christians who are engaging in this.
Well, as you know, we're a Christian ministry.
Yeah, sure.
So the issues that, life is at the top of the list for everybody. Religious freedom, freedom to speak is right up there at the top. And right now, they're all voters. So the economy and immigration are top issues for people who use iVoter Guide. And we look
Is that
at all
part of the
those.
survey?
Yep. We have immigration questions. We have national security questions. We have economy, healthcare, equality. Every topic you can think of is covered on our survey. We go through a pretty intense process of updating that survey for every election cycle and trying to get the current issues. But what's interesting on our survey is not just those topics, but we try to get through their values. We ask them spiritual questions. What are your spiritual beliefs and values? We ask them about, do you want boys and girls bathrooms? Is marriage a man and woman? So not only what you might call political issues, but we're really trying to flavor that rating with their worldview. Do they have a biblical worldview?
For those that go to iVoter Guide to use it, What's one of the most common either confusions or first questions they may have that you can help answer in the event that they go there? Does that make sense?
Well, if you go there right now and you enter your address, you probably won't see your voter guide because we're in the process of evaluating thousands of candidates across the nation. So you'll see maybe a date of when we expect to release your general election voter guide. But I would encourage people, there might be a pop-up or a form to enter your email address. And we make that easy. We're just going to let you know when we release it so you don't have to remember to come back. So I would encourage people to sign up and join that email list, and then we'll let you know when we've released the voter guide in your state.
In 2022, iVoter Guide researched 13,000 candidates.
Yeah.
That's a lot of candidates.
We're probably doing just a little bit more this year.
Yeah.
So right now. So pray for the team.
So if you go there right now and yours is not available right now, it will be available before
Yes,
you vote.
we've only released about 12 of the general election voter guides, and the voting's not for 2 months, right? Early voting doesn't even start for a couple weeks. But we are rolling them out. It will be out before early voting starts in your state.
Good.
We will have half of them out by the end of this month, and obviously the rest before early.
There was a pop-up when I went there. There was a pop-up that says to enter your address and email address.
Did you do it?
No, I didn't. I think I'm already signed up.
You already signed up.
Yeah, but it doesn't know that. It didn't know that when I came on this computer. So there was a pop-up, and you can enter your email address, your name, and it will send you an alert.
And it's asking for your address so that we can let you know, like, let's say next year there's a special election in your area. We will let you know when that election happens. So that's why we ask for your address, is just so we can personalize the communication.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've been talking to Debbie Wuth now, and she's president of iVoter Guide, and then Philip Juregi, who's senior counsel and director of the Center for Judicial Renewal. One other question I have for you, Philip. I know you and some other of our team members who have been evaluating already potential Supreme Court justices, federal judiciary appointments for the next administration. Now, from where we're coming from, our perspective, that's only going to be possible if Trump wins. If Harris wins, she's just going to appoint a bunch of far lefties.
I don't think she'll like our list.
No, I don't think. No, that's a good. Yes,
that's a good thing.
She's not going to like your list. But let me ask you this about Trump. Do you think he will? Last time he did listen to conservatives in terms of who to appoint, right?
Right.
Do you think he'll be, if he wins, do you think he'll be open to that again? I mean, go ahead.
I think he has to, because a president he has a lot of things to deal with, right? So he has to rely on his team. People that he'll be looking to are his White House counsel, the main attorney at the White House, and then also the Department of Justice. There's a division there, the Office of Legal Policy. So part of what we're doing, Tim, is not just researching the Supreme Court prospects, but researching people who would serve in the administration. It's really important, right?
I thought Trump said that he didn't know anything about that. Is that Project 2025?
That's Project 2025, exactly.
He didn't know anything about that, by the way.
He didn't, but he will need some help, and I think a lot of the, whether
what
they
was
come
he
from,
so worried about that for? Trump, I'm talking
yeah,
about. He's like, I don't know anything about this. I have nothing to do with this. I'm going like, what is wrong with Project 2025 that you want to just distance yourself from it? Go
it's
ahead.
a brilliant project. It has to happen, because part of the problem last time is President Trump wasn't ready to appoint the people he needed.
No,
he appointed a lot of bad folks who turned on him.
Right.
But I think what happened was he's in the middle of a campaign. He wants to talk about issues over here, and the left is bringing up issues about Project 2025. And I think it was a campaign decision. I'm not agreeing with it.
Right.
I think he was just saying, look, I don't want to talk about that. I want to fight over here.
Okay.
So, but he has to get good counsel from conservatives.
The point of Project 2025, as I understand it, basically was to plan that if President Trump won again, that the staffing he would get in all the agencies would be consistent with his political ideology.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, and every administration that I'm sure that Harris is, Vice President Harris and her team, they're if they win, they want to be ready to staff the administration with people that believe like they do. Anyway, sometimes Trump, he overreacts to criticism and it's unnecessary. Guess we all have our Good. I call him good Trump, bad Trump. But anyway, I do think that should he win, I do think that he will. He'll have to surround himself with people who, like last time, like you said, last time in Trump's administration, he had a lot of folks who maybe weren't working for him, and he didn't know it. Right?
Exactly.
Do you think that's what happened?
Absolutely, it's what happened. We saw tons of examples of it. Okay. And so having the right people, but then also the right names to look at for the Supreme Court, and that's why we've done that deep research to spend our own time to be good stewards to make sure that there is a great list.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Philip.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
Debbie.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and we look forward to the Wesley.
Philip
and Debbie are in town to record.
Yeah, they're in town along with Sandy Rios, Dr. Jameson Taylor, and Rick Green. They are recording this afternoon for a AFA at Home episode number 6 that will be released on October the 7th. It'll be streamed. I'm sorry, you're right. October 17th, and it will be streamed on October 17th. The title of episode 6 is "What Direction Will America Take on Election Day 2024?"
Yeah, and it's going to be hosted by Walker Wildman.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't going to give him any credit.
Yes. Well, people will think it's you anyway.
Okay.
They always confuse Walker and West.
That's right. And
Anyway,
I'll take it.
We'll be mentioning that closer to the release
We'll remind everyone.
date of that's a video series that we produce called AFA at Home. You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Chris can come back into the studio now and bring us some Chris always
K-Love news.
Yes, well,
yes. K-Love news.
Positive and encouraging.
By the way, I am looking forward to this AFA at Home episode. This is going to be, I think it's going to be good, and it's a great way to link it up with iVoter Guide, get folks involved, get them registered, get them giving them opportunities to find out about the elections, which this research covers all the way down, in some cases, to local elections.
I don't think most people understand. This is I'm just offering observation, not a criticism, but I don't think most people understand. I think the most important role of the president. It's hard to say. It was commander in chief, number one, of the United States military. So that's every day. Whoever the president is has to be briefed by the national security team on the threats to our country, both domestically and around the world. Right.
Right.
That's after you have your cup of coffee, right? Before you get your eggs.
Yeah.
To start the day, so that's a extremely serious responsibility, no doubt about it. But in terms of legacy, I don't think people really fully appreciate how important it is, who the president is in terms of appointing federal judges. Because, yes, the high-profile cases make it to the Supreme Court, and most all of us can name most of the Supreme Court justices, if not all of them, right? So they get the attention. But did you know that the Supreme Court only hears like 3% of all the cases that are brought up to their attention?
Right.
97% of them, they say, we're not going to hear this case, so whatever the lower court says stands, right?
Right.
So a president not only appoints the Supreme Court justices, but all those hundreds and hundreds, I don't know how many there are total, of federal judges that sit on benches in districts, what we call, is that what they call them? Like the first.
Well, there's appellate courts.
First circuit. No, they call it circuit.
Yeah.
So you have example, our state, Mississippi, is in the Fifth Circuit with Louisiana and Texas. So you have a federal circuit that hears cases, and most of them are decided either by an individual federal judge, most decisions, or they make it up to the circuit, like to the Fifth Circuit.
So there's 179 in Court of Appeals, and there's 677 U.S. District Courts.
Okay. The U.S. District Federal Courts.
677?
And all those judges have lifetime appointments.
Right.
So they only required to step down if they're convicted of a crime, of some kind of a felony or something. But other than that, they stay on until they want to retire or resign. We'll be back momentarily with more of today's issues on the American Family Radio Network.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
If God could speak, what would he say? The Bible subjects itself to historical verification.
He says, we saw this.
We go to the Bible wanting to hear what the living God has to say to us.
When God speaks, what does he say?
The God who speaks. Visit stream.afa.net. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. Election fraud investigators in Florida are reviewing petition signatures used to put an amendment on November's ballot that, if adopted, could do away with abortion limits in the state. Evan Brown reports from Broward County, Florida.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says investigators found suspicious signatures on a petition to put onto the state's ballot in November an amendment that would prevent lawmakers from restricting abortion to early pregnancy. He says the signatures were collected by an agency.
We know that this group did submit on behalf of dead people. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I thought that was a Chicago thing.
Speaking in Miami Lakes Monday, investigators also identified fraudulent signatures supporting another proposed amendment, one to decriminalize recreational marijuana. In Broward County, Florida, Evan Brown, Fox News.
Missouri's Supreme Court will hear arguments today over whether a pro-abortion amendment should go before voters this year. At issue is a proposal to enshrine abortion rights in the state's constitution. If enacted, the measure is widely expected to undo the state's 2022 near-total abortion ban. The proposal had been slated for the November ballot. Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris preparing to square off in their ABC News presidential debate later tonight. RNC Chairman Michael Whatley says he believes the former president will have a strong showing.
He's the only candidate in this race who's trying to unify the entire country and who's going to talk about how he is going to restore our southern border, rebuild our economy, and make sure that America is strong enough to be able to protect our interests at home and abroad.
House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik expressing confidence in former President Donald Trump.
Kamala cannot hide forever. Tonight at the debate, the country will finally get to see the stark contrast between the strength and success of President Trump's America First policies and the devastation and weakness of Kamala Harris's radical, failed far-left agenda.
The Harris Walls campaign is promising to go after what it calls grocery store price gouging. But not everyone thinks stores are to blame for today's prices. Chris Woodward has more.
J.D. Tuchili, contributing editor to Reason, says the profit margin for a grocery store is a little more than 1%.
I mean, that's it. That's a tiny profit margin.
Still, that's not stopping Harris from fighting what she calls grocery store price gouging. Here is a portion of a campaign ad for Harris.
She'll make groceries more affordable by cracking down on price gouging. And she'll cut housing costs by taking on corporate speculators. Middle-class families build America. We need a leader who has their back.
Democratic Party vice presidential nominee and Governor Tim Walz took to X to make a similar promise, saying the Harris-Walz administration will take on, quote, price gouging at the grocery store. But Tuchili says he just doesn't see it.
Stuff is perishable. My son worked in a grocery store. They're throwing stuff out all the time. They're turning about 1.18% on average right now, and they don't always turn a profit at all. And then if you go further down the food chain, I mean, the literal food chain in this case, farmers and wholesalers and food processors, their profit margins are different levels, but they're all under 8%. And they really haven't changed all that much, bouncing up and down here and there as they adjust their prices. But no, they're not price gouging. So she's deflecting. Yeah, that's not the corporations that are gouging prices. It's the government that has reduced the purchasing power of the dollar.
I'm Chris Woodward.
A potential hurricane is barreling toward Louisiana. Janice Dean has the latest.
Francine is setting aim on the Louisiana coastline with the possibility for a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane making landfall on Wednesday. Life-threatening storm surge of over 10 feet, hurricane-force winds, dangerous flash flooding, widespread power outages, and tropical tornadoes will all be a potential risk over the next 24 to 48 hours. The system will then move northward over the Mississippi Valley. I'm Janice Dean, Fox News.
U.S. stocks are holding relatively steady in quiet trading. The S&P 500 rose 0.3%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 17 points, and the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.2%. Trading elsewhere was mostly quiet ahead of a U.S. presidential debate coming tonight and inflation updates due in the coming days. For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We believe true morality flows from biblical principles and directs people to the manner in which God intends them to live.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, again, and or good afternoon if you're living in the Eastern time zone. Tim here with Ed and Wesley. You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. And Steve Jordahl joined us. Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, afternoon, everybody.
It's Tuesday, September the 10th, 2024. Debate day.
Debate day. I got to tell you, I'm kind of looking forward to this. So, there was a whole lot of back and forth between the campaigns and ABC News about what the rules for the debates were going to be. They are settled now, and let me just go through what they are. First of all, the debate's going to be at the Philadelphia National Constitution Center. I don't know if that's the same building that Biden stood outside of with a red guard behind him. Remember that speech he gave? It was just after J6 in front of something in Philadelphia, and the army people behind him shaded in red and black. And you don't remember that speech?
I do remember that.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway. The debate will be at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. No live audience, no opening statements. Candidates will have under 2 minutes to deliver a closing statement. David Muir and Lindsay Davis are the only ones, they're the moderators, permitted to ask questions. 2 commercial breaks over 90 minutes. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions, 2 minutes for rebuttal, and an additional minute for follow-up and clarification. The microphones will remain muted when a candidate is not speaking. Trump won the virtual coin toss as far as who starts and where you stand on the stage. Trump decided and chose the final closing statement, so Harris got to choose where she's going to be on the podium, on the stage. Not surprisingly, she's going to be stage left.
Okay.
Now, is that facing
him? She could be on your right as you're looking at the TV.
Okay.
From the stage, it's on her left. The candidates will have to stand behind their lecterns for the duration of the debate. They're not allowed to take pre-written notes or props on stage, and they will not receive topics or questions in advance. 90 minutes. We were just talking off the air, Tim. How are you going to avoid, in 90 minutes, some question on policy? Because she has no policy. She's put policies on, but
nothing that she's made public.
Well,
I think
discussed publicly. I guess would her campaign have?
Yeah, what I'm saying is I'm sure she is a radical pro-abortionist, that she's anti-fossil fuels, those kind of things. I think she does hold those views, but you're not going to hear. You might hear the abortion thing, but you're not going to hear the economic stuff.
She avoided any questions about policy for a month after she was.
How has she responded, by the way, to the criticism she received when she said she wanted price controls? That just exploded.
Economists across the board are saying it's a bad idea. First of all, what she's doing there is she is making sure that that the voters feel victimized, which is the Democrats' specialty. They're price gouging. You know, supermarkets are operating on a very narrow margin. Only the big ones are making money. The mom and pops, this is going to kill them.
Has she stuck with that promise?
That's still her promise. I don't think she'll be able to do it. But again, you run on these things. And this is the telling thing. She avoided for 60 days or more any discussion of any policy. Finally sat down, and she had to have Tim Walz with her on that. And they barely got to any policy. So finally,
Think about weird.
finally, on Sunday, this last Sunday, she realized I better put some policy stuff out there. So she put a policy section up on her campaign page.
So I can go there now and see it.
You can see policy, but what you're going to read, they found out that the page's source code reveals that parts of the platform were copied directly from Joe Biden's campaign page. She just copied the positions from Joe Biden.
So she's going to have a difficult time distancing herself from Joe Biden if she wants to promise, as she has already said.
She's not going to do that. She's going to say, "I'm proud of."
Well,
but she said she's going to take a new direction.
Yeah, that's what's confusing here. Is
Okay.
because audibly recently she said, "No, we're making changes," and what we're saying is on the website it says she's copy and pasted.
Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it says that she really has no in-depth knowledge, and some of these policy positions are detailed.
See, I would have agreed with you just 15 days ago before she started using the phrase we're going to change. I would have agreed she would have been proud of those things.
What she's going to say is that she's proud of the accomplishments that she and Joe Biden have had. and it is going to sound contradictory, but she's going to say, but we can do more. She's going to say, she's going to say, we can do more, and my presidency is going to be somewhat different than his. I'm going to do A, B, and C so that we can accomplish more. She's going to try to have it both ways. Whether she can,
it's her only choice.
Whether she can pull that off or not, I don't know. Go ahead.
So these are the positions that she's put up on her page. She says she's going to cut taxes from middle class families, going to make rent more affordable and home ownership more attainable. She says she's going to grow small businesses and invest in entrepreneurship. She's going to take bad actors and bring down costs. She's going to strengthen and bring down the cost of health care. She's going to protect Social Security, Medicare. She's going to support innovation and American workers, she says. Three more. Provide a pathway for the middle class through quality, affordable education, invest in affordable child care, and lower energy costs to tackle the climate crisis. Now, if you want to talk about any of these, it's not long before you have to get into some details that she's not going to know anything about.
Well, we'll see. I tend to agree with you, but Trump's not. He's not a very big detail guy either. With policy, he usually goes with generalities and big ideas, and that's fine. He'll say, we're going to secure the border. It's been a disaster, which I'm just saying. He's not one to get into the finer details of policy much either.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think he understands the general concept better than her. Listen, just let me play one more clip to talk about this. They didn't have a whole lot of time to put this together, and they didn't think, the Harris campaign. And she didn't have.
I know there wasn't a Harris campaign till 2 months ago.
Right.
So they just sort of threw it together. Yeah.
They did, and listen to what she has to say about, so if one of the questions is, how did we get here? What do you need to fix? What's broken? Well, this is what they think about what's broken. Cut 8.
Democrats have been in control of the country for the last 3 going on 4 years, and you are still seeing this in the polling. I mean, these working class voters are telling us right now that more of them are with Donald Trump than Kamala Harris. Why? What is it about what you guys have been doing for the last 3+ years that explains that?
Well, I think, again, we're trying to talk to the voters and explain this message. We've got 60 days until the election. We don't have time to sit around and think about why over the last few years certain things may have happened or may not have happened. We've got to go win an election.
That was Ian Sams, Kamala Harris representative on CNN. I don't have time to go figure out what went wrong. We just got to fix it.
Listen, is tonight the night that that especially Kamala Harris needs to avoid a big faux pas, viral moment where she has a word salad or doesn't.
Yeah, but y'all.
The pressure's on her, in my opinion.
Yeah, but have we really has it sank in yet that she's gonna be 90 minutes? Is she gonna be able to complete 90 minutes of a debate?
You don't sound like you're very
I have
confident.
no confidence at all.
Right.
You saw this, was it 16 and a half, 18-minute interview? I mean, this is not gonna.
Right.
With her big brother sitting.
And
her only moment when she ran in 2020, her only moment before she dropped out with less than 1% when 18 other people kept going. I'm exaggerating a little bit there. Her only moment was, y'all be quiet.
Was that what she?
I'm talking.
I'm talking. That's it. That was her moment.
Yeah.
That's why I say the bar for her, I think, in the minds
6
of most
inches
people,
off the ground for
it's
you.
very, very low. And if
She can
she
step
is
over
able,
it.
if she is able to sound relatively articulate,
90
don't laugh me out of the studio. If she's able to sound fairly articulate, fairly knowledgeable, and come across not as shrill, like you said, that was a big moment in 2020. If she comes across as likable, she does not have to. That's like 2 or 3 rungs up the ladder from where most people expect her to be. That'll be a win for her.
Let me ask you this too, because I think there's likely to be, for her at least, times of, because it's an uninterrupted comment, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and there's no audience. So I think there's going to be times when she has 2 minutes to respond and she uses 47 seconds.
That could happen.
Because she has nothing else substantive to say about the issue. Now, sometimes we have those moments in life when we're just better just to say what we got to say and shut up. But I'm talking about, to your point, Steve, she has not demonstrated, Harris has not demonstrated that she is able to go very much in depth on much of anything, quite frankly.
I think there's about 80 to 85% of voters out there who are going to vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, no matter what.
Right, their minds are made up.
Their minds are made up. So I think it's the 15% that are left that are going to look at her tonight if they're interested. And if she does have a word salad moment and if she seems out of her depth, that's going to affect them.
I just saw poll numbers. I pointed, and you guys all turned around, and it was gone. But a poll showed it from Michigan. 7% of voters undecided. Now, whether that's completely true or not, but that's a pretty low number.
It's a low number, but the elections have been decided on much less than 7 points. And by the way, we have a TV in our studio, which is what Ed was.
Yeah, there's like 4 different channels on that one TV. It's
We're
very
multitaskers.
Yes. I can watch TV and talk. At the
You got
same
ADD.
time.
You got a problem in this room.
But there's reasons for the debates. I understand that a lot of people's got their minds made up, but you got to remember the last debate we had. That's where President Joe
It was
Biden
the end of Joe Biden's candidacy.
Yeah. So
I do think I do think Trump's experience in this arena will benefit him tonight, and she runs a higher risk of having a bad night. I just, whether that happens or not, I think if you were going to handicap a football game and you had to say, okay, this team has more experience and this team is a newbie, then you're good. You know what I'm saying? Everything else being equal, you're going to say the experienced team is favored.
And that's why, using the metaphor of football, sometimes you'll have commentators say, this team, the less experienced team, has to play a perfect game.
Right.
To
I
win.
think that's the pressure's on her.
Think about
especially with nobody in the audience. It's a what do you call it? A stale sort of a sterile.
You're not getting any feedback to play on.
If somebody drops their cup of coffee offset, everybody's going to turn over there and look because there's nothing else. There's just the 2 reporters and the 2 candidates, and all they got is 2 restroom breaks in the 90 minutes, and then there's no talking to their staff. All you got is a pad and a piece of paper. Is that right?
Like that, yeah. Think about what could happen. Donald Trump, whatever happens, you're not going to get a confusing word salad from him. Now, it might not be true, or they might challenge it on fact check type stuff. He might insult somebody. He might, but all of that's baked in. That nobody will be that surprised. With Kamala Harris, they're nervous. They don't know what they're going to get. They could get a word salad. They could get something.
He is going to slam. He's going to do a slam dunk on her on the border. That is going to be brutal.
If he's smart.
And
yeah.
And the economy, though, both of those. Listen, he's got a wealth of weapons to choose from in terms of putting Kamala Harris on the spot. I would also say that crime in big cities, that illegal immigration thing, like you said, the news is just bad.
Here's what's going to, if I could make a prediction, here's what's going to happen. Trump's going to call her the border czar. Okay, and you've been a disaster as the border. You've been the border czar, and we've had 20 million. I don't know what figure he'll use. People coming here illegal, just pouring into our countries from. They're letting them out of prisons. He's going to say they're letting them out of mental institutions. We got people from around, and he's right about all this, by the way. We got people coming from around the world. We don't know who they are, and pouring in while you're the border czar. And she's going to say, "I was never." That was never my title, and I never was the border czar. So you're making that up. She's got something to that effect. Yeah. And of course, we all know she was de facto the border czar because Biden put her in charge of the border. She'll say something like, "My responsibility was to find out the root causes of why people are coming to our country illegally."
Here's 2 things that
like it was a research paper
that everybody knows
but she failed.
about the border. Okay, you can point to fentanyl deaths for people coming across the border, and everybody has seen those videos. What was that apartment complex? Where was that at?
That was in
Aurora, Colorado.
Colorado.
Venezuelan gangs.
Where they had the Venezuelan gangs in charge. Everybody knows those 2 things, and everybody knows about the jobs disappearing, going to illegal immigrants, the schools being packed, hospitals having to close, wages depressed. Everybody's going to know that, and Trump is pretty shrewd when it comes to these things. You hammer that stuff, and what is Kamala Harris going to say? The only thing she can say is, "I wasn't in charge."
Yeah.
And then Trump says, "Well, you and Joe Biden were."
Right.
Well, and to add to that list, the crimes that were the murders and the rape that have been committed by illegals. Talking about this, yesterday we played that lady who was kind of yelling at the Chicago City Council.
Right.
Remember, she was saying leave the Democrat Party and everything. I have a story running on that today, but in the process of that story, I talked to Donna Jackson, who is with Project 21, which is a conservative African American group. And she says that this woman and others around the country have very good reason to be upset by this illegal immigration crisis. Listen to what they're going through just in Chicago, in just one instance, cut 12.
There are a number of people who have been waiting for housing, sometimes on a waiting list for 8 to 10 years. And you have illegal immigrants who come into the city and get 2 years free rent, and they're automatically given housing.
Can you imagine being on a list and waiting for 10 years, and all of a sudden the apartment that you all thought you were going to move into has some illegal alien residents with cash?
This is for government subsidized housing. This is what she's talking about.
Low-income housing.
And this has been going on, Wesley. This is in city after city. This is why you may be seeing some support. I don't know how much it'll be. Some support draining away from the Democrats and the black community. It's probably not going to be much, but it may be enough to kind of flip the election. Even Hispanics who are legal here. I mean, we've all heard stories of veterans, homeless veterans being thrown out of hotels in New York City so that they can house illegal immigrants.
Yeah, There's a lot of, well, I keep coming back to this. So there's a lot of things that we've discussed as far as policies and issues and things that are going on in our country that you got the Democrat view of it, you got the Republican view of it, or a conservative view of it, or the far left view of it. And I keep coming back to this with all the issues with the debate that's happened tonight with Biden debate a couple weeks ago, month or so ago. All of this, when it's all said and done, 2024, the issue is going to be what's happened at the border, because it is the biggest impact, I believe. Well, that and the economy, biggest impact on people, because now the illegal immigrants that have come over or have been flown in by planes are in other people's community. It's not just at the border, so to speak. As someone once, somebody's said this before about how every state's a border state now.
Yeah.
And that's because you've got the Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio.
Right.
You've got was it Colorado? From the people from El Salvador?
Venezuela.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. Venezuela.
Well, also Boston, New York, Chicago.
With the famous video of the people let loose or let off on bond in New York, and they were the immigrants that had committed the crimes were flipping the middle finger to the camera. Do you remember this?
That's right.
But I'm also talking about just the Democrat mayors in those big cities have been complaining to the federal government.
Yeah.
That they're overwhelmed with the number of illegal illegal aliens that have come into the country that those cities are now trying to house and protect.
I think personally that's the hardest thing for a Democrat to defend. I think the economy, they can say, well, you can manipulate numbers. Now I'm not saying you'll persuade people, but you can make numbers sound just about any way you want.
Right.
Even though, but there's other issues that you can, I don't know, like I said, make it sound the way you want it to sound. But that what's taken place personally from what's happened at the border, there's no good way to explain that away.
And that's why down ballot Democrats could suffer as well.
Absolutely.
Because are you going to have people who are running for re-election in their House district or running for re-election in the Senate? I think you have a lot more Democrats up for re-election in the Senate. They've got to they have two choices. We either defend what Biden-Harris has done on the border, or we say Biden-Harris was wrong.
That's right.
And we're going to fight to protect that border, which means you go against your Democrat Party platform.
All right, next story.
All right. James O'Keefe has been at it again. Remember, he's the guy that goes undercover and breaks a whole lot of stuff. He got one of his reporters to go undercover with a Google growth strategist who knows something about business at Google. And this is what he found out, that Google has been actively coordinating with the Kamala Harris campaign, manipulating search engine advertisements in her favor in the 2024 election. They are making users believe that they were reading unbiased reports from reputable sources when they were actually looking at Harris ads. He also found that Google's primary objective is to generate ad revenue through fear-based content, saying that the demographic that's most fearful is the most profitable, and currently the left represents the most fearful demographic.
Do we have any of that? Probably too late to do that today. Do we have any of that audio from that?
Yes, it's all audio.
Undercover?
I only found this like 10 minutes or 5 minutes before I got to the studio. But
so Google is actually running Kamala Harris ads.
They were inserting
as if they were real news stories.
Yes,
in the search engine.
The content. I don't think Google put the ads together, but there are ads out there that look like they're news stories.
But usually they say sponsored.
Yeah.
On them.
Do they say that sponsored?
I haven't looked deep enough. I'll bring this in tomorrow and we can go and
usually if you go and look on like a Google, if a story is basically a infomercial, then they usually tag it with the sponsored. So you'll know that before you click on there. But anyway, well, listen. Tonight, the presidential debate, for those of you who haven't made up your minds already, and it'll be on ABC television, but also simulcast on some other networks, including Fox.
I've got my pizza scheduled to be delivered. just on time.
Chelsea's letting you eat pizza tonight? Okay.
No, but hey, you know what? It's a good idea, though.
Yeah.
Schedule a pizza to be delivered.
AFN's going to have coverage as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. All right. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.
You know, there are many ways we can impact the world around us. Some are